Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our ADP Basics webinar today. This webinar will hopefully help you get into the system for the first time, update your information in the system if necessary, and definitely add your ADP direct deposit into your account. That'll probably be the most helpful to you. So just to get started, my name is Nicole Murcia. I am an operations manager with EF, and I'm going to be going ahead and going through this presentation. I have a chat buddy with me. His name is Elliot Harden, and so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, we will have a few breaks, but if there's something that you want to just get some clarification on quickly, he'll be able to help you out within the chat on that. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be covering how to log into the system, how to add a direct deposit, how to make a direct deposit change if for whatever reason your bank account changed, how to access pay statements, how to make profile or address updates, how to get your 1099 year-end forms, and then a few tips on how to avoid getting locked out of the system. So the first part of this process is to receive that ADP registration email. The subject should say ADP or something related to pay. So if you haven't seen that come in yet, it may be because it hasn't been 2 to 4 weeks after you've started teaching with us. It should come from somebody at EF, so definitely look out for that email. I know we send you guys a lot of emails, so just look out for that. And again, it should have something as ADP or payment in the subject line. We do encourage you to log in as soon as you get that. People tend to receive that email and say, okay, I'll get to it later on, and then kind of never do, and then that just delays the process of you getting your direct deposit. So make sure to do that as soon as you can. And we also encourage you to bookmark this link. ADP is a third-party software, and they do have various, I guess, login sites to use. So it can be a little bit confusing and frustrating if you don't have the right link to get into the system. So again, look out for that email, and then within the email, there's some details on how to actually get set up on the system. One thing I do like to point out is in step 2, you're not going to be entering your actual date of birth. That is usually where people get stuck the most because they enter their actual date of birth. The date of birth that you will be using is January 1st, 1999. So if any of you have gotten stuck, and maybe that's why you're here today, that might be why that you haven't been able to get into the system. So we're going to go ahead and click on this link here in step 1, and that's going to take us to the next page. I would recommend just copying the registration code here because you'll use it in the next step here. But let's go ahead and click on that link. And when you click on that link, ADP will ask you for the registration code so you can quickly paste that in. And then you're going to go ahead and begin to enter your information in step 3. So you would select that, and it would take you to step 4. You would start to include your name, your Elliot Harden, enter your social, your EIN, whatever you provided to us on that W-9 is what you'll use. And again, January 1st, 1999 is the birth date you'll want to use. So we'll go ahead and hit continue, and it'll take us to step 5. If you get to this point, that's really good. That means that we have your information. If you can't get to this point, it might be that you're entering the wrong social security number, or maybe the one that you sent us is incorrect. Or you've entered the wrong birth date. So once you get to this step, you should be pretty good to go. You'll have to verify the information that you have submitted, and then we'll have to verify that it's you. So you'll go ahead and get an email sent to the email that this link was originally sent to, and at that point in step 6, you'll go ahead and create a user ID and your password as well. I would encourage you to save this, write it down somewhere. People tend to forget the password. I know that there's so many passwords for everything these days, it can be easy to forget. Then go ahead and accept the terms and conditions and create your account. Once you see this window here, this is how you'll know your registration is complete. With this green circle and a check mark in there, that's going to be a common trend throughout this webinar here, so just look out for that. That's how you'll know your information's saved. Again, this is a good place to bookmark the link from, so you don't have to necessarily save it and write it down each time. Once you do that registration, you can bookmark it from here, and then this will just remind you what your username is. So I do encourage you to write that down as well. So once you've actually signed in and you go ahead and complete this process, the first thing that you'll see when you sign in is your profile. So a few things that you'll see here is your name. You can enter your personal information, and we'll go into that in a little bit more. And then you'll see some details on the position as well. You will have the option of selecting this pencil tool and the view more. We'll go back to that in a little bit though. The menu does have a few options, not too many, so it shouldn't be too overwhelming, but you do have a few things that you could do within here. Under myself, my information, you would select anything related to profile changes. Myself pay, that's something that's going to be related to your annual statements, your direct deposit, and your pay statements. These are two different views of the menu. You can either expand it or collapse it. I put both in there just in case anybody wanted to see how they both worked. So the next piece that we'll cover today is how to add in your direct deposit to the system. As a quick reminder, it does take 2 to 3 cycles for this to go into effect after you've entered your information. So that's why we encourage you to do it as soon as you get that link so that you can begin to start that process. Those first few checks, will arrive via USPS, so look out for that in the mail. And I do encourage teachers to verify that their address is correct as soon as they get in there as well, so that they can make sure they receive their checks to the correct address. So again, going to myself and pay, you do have a few options here. Like I mentioned earlier, you have access to annual statements for your 1099 year-end forms. Payment options is what we're going to go ahead and click on now to go to update or direct deposit, and then you'll have access to view your pay statements as well from this menu right here. So what we're going to do is select payment options and go into the next step. So in step 1 here, what we're going to look at is adding a bank account. That's as an example, if you haven't added one yet or you haven't gone into the system before. And again, as a quick reminder, only you can access this. You can access this yourself and add the information into your account. We do not have access to do that for you. So unfortunately, we cannot, but we can help you if you need some additional guidance with that. In step 2 here, you would begin to add your routing number and just enter it twice to confirm that information. And then in step 3, you're going to go ahead and add in your account number. Again, just a quick note, sometimes people use deposit slips. Make sure that you're using avoided check to enter in your routing number, because that is the deposit number and the routing number are different, and that can be a reason what that delays your direct deposit payment. So in step 4 and 5 here, I'm going to show you 2 different examples. One would be if you're adding an additional bank account, and one would be if you are going to be adding just one bank account. In step 4 here, you'll see that we have a specified amount. So let's say you wanted to add in 2 accounts and you wanted to send $100 to one bank account and then the remaining amount to another account. This is how you would go through this process. Step 4 essentially would be you selecting a checking type, selecting a specified amount or a percentage. You have the option of doing that as well. And then going through the process of the verification, which we'll continue in shortly here. And then you would come back and add in a second checking account. Make sure to select a different type. So let's say this one's checking W, this one would be checking Y. And then you would deposit the remaining balance there and continue the process. If you're only going to be adding one bank account and it's not, you don't really have to worry about this piece here. You just essentially do step 5 and you would select the account type and to deposit everything here. In step 6, we are going to just review the information that we've submitted, agree to the terms, and double check the information again. And once you go ahead and hit add, you would think you're done, but you're actually not going to be done. Anytime you make a change within ADP, you will have to verify that information. So in step 7 here, it's going to give you the option to receive a code to either to your email or a phone number if you've entered your phone number into the system. And then you'll just go ahead and enter that into step 8, and it'll verify that's you. Go ahead and hit submit. And once you hit that and you see this green circle with a check mark on the inside, that's when you know your information has saved. Again, if you don't see this, your information hasn't taken. I do recommend that you go back and verify that it was added as well once you've done that. And so this is an example. If you have an existing account and you wanted to delete it or change it, you would be able to select this little trash can and delete it. Or if you just wanted to go ahead and add an additional account, you would be able to click on payment options from the main menu there, and it would take you to this window, the one on the left being the existing account and the one on the right giving you the option to add in a new bank account. So you would just select add a bank account and then continue to the process that we just went through essentially. It's the exact same thing in adding a new account. Did we have any questions today in the chat, or did anybody have a question they wanted to ask out loud?
We're all clear, Nicole, in the chat pod.
Awesome. We're about halfway through the presentation. This is a pretty short webinar, but hopefully you find it helpful on how to get into the system. So the next piece that we'll cover is how to access your historical pay statements. This is a demo account that we use, but essentially where you would be able to see your information is where this red line is here, and it's just going to go ahead and list it for you. You can click on it to get more information. If you want to just glance at it, you can definitely do it that way. Or if you need to get a PDF copy and use that for your records, you would be able to select that and print that as well. This is an example of what it would be if you have multiple accounts linked to your ADP profile. So some of you may have other positions, and maybe that your position is linked to the same one from EF. You would just have to go to your profile, and you can do this from the main menu, I believe, as well. Select other positions, and then you would go into the profile that you're looking for. So some people get confused by this, so I do like to mention that if you do have multiple accounts set up through the same login, then you would have to select the other position to view your information. So just doing a quick piece on updating your profile. Again, there's not much you can do within this, but we do want to show you that you can do that. So let's say you wanted to update your name. You would go ahead and click on the pencil tool here or here, and you would be brought to this window, and you can update your name there. If you needed to update your address or verify your address, or let's say you moved and wanted to make a change to it and you know payroll is coming up, please make sure to do that before and then go ahead and make that change within here. You can also update your mobile phone number or add in an additional email. And just like any other change in the system, you will need to go through the verification process. So again, you can either get it sent to your email or to a text. Go ahead and enter that verification code once you receive it. Hit submit code, and then you're good to go. That's when you know it's been saved. And again, just like anything else, just verify that information did take so that you can avoid any issues down the line. The next piece that we'll cover is getting our annual statements. For those of you that have started this year, this might not really apply until next year, but I do like to show this for teachers who are interested in getting their 1099s. This is where you would see it. It's again under myself, pay, annual statements, and again, a demo account. So this red bar won't be here for you, but the data would be available under the 1099 here, and it would indicate what year it is. If you were with us last year, then you would have something for 2019, and then next year you'll go ahead and have something for 2020. And then similar to the pay statement, you can click on it to view more, or you can download a PDF copy and have that for your records. So the last piece that we'll cover today is getting locked out of the system. There are generally two different ways that you can get locked out of the system. One is a soft lockout, and then one is a hard lockout. An example of the soft lockout would be maybe you are using the wrong social security number, or you are using your personal birth date, not January 1st, 1999. The system is going to go ahead and lock it while you set up your profile for 24 hours. And then in 24 hours, you can go back in and try again. So that one's a pretty easy one. You can generally resolve it yourself, but just keep in mind that if you go ahead and set up your account with the correct birth date initially, you can always modify it if that bothers you, if you want to change it afterwards. The second example would be a hard lockout. This would be if you maybe forgot your username or you forgot your password and you blocked your account from letting you into the system. The system's going to notify you that you've tried too many times and you have to contact an administrator. So these are the steps that you would want to take to do that. You would go ahead and create a case in Access. Under support, you would select contact us. In step 1 here, you would select payment questions. Step 2, help with submitting an invoice. Step 3, you can go ahead and skip because it's not specific to any class ID. And then in step 4, provide us with any details regarding the issue that you're experiencing. I always like to encourage teachers to include screenshots in their cases because it gives us a better idea of what's going on from your side. So that way we can quickly identify if maybe you're using the wrong URL or if it's the birth date that is causing you to be locked out of the system. So if you're having trouble and you can't move forward, I always encourage screenshots. Did we have any additional questions today before we wrap up? Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for attending today. Hopefully this was some helpful information to you. We will be following up with this with essentially a recap on what we discussed today and some additional resources for you if you need additional help on getting into the system. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.